Welcome back, welcome in, welcome all to the Like That podcast, episode 31 with N squared, double N, Nick, Nico, Nick. Nick, how are we?
Wow. I was not expecting that.
I wasn't either. I just fully said that off the dome. I
But,
don't know if
you
I've ever
know,
said it in our episodes about just us two.
the last few weeks, you and Brooklyn have just been taking turns, huh? Just been switching
Yeah.
out spots. It's just been me. I've just been the lone soul here.
Well, granted, I think I went what 28 episodes straight. The first
Yes.
the first one I missed due to a basketball game. And last week, I was just not a person. Like, the audience might hear me randomly mute, and that's because I can't control my cough right now. It's
Mm.
unbelievable. So like I've been bedridden, and it actually gave me a question. I didn't tell you this beforehand either. I want to get your like. I think that it's not sports related at all, and that's why I want to do
Oh,
it when Brooklyn
jeez.
wasn't here. It's about TV shows, because I think there's a
Oh.
there's a good argument for this, right?
Oh,
So
jeez.
do you think it is better it is better for a TV show to be fully out, like say you're looking for a new show, right? This is a better way to explain it.
Yeah.
And you have two options. One of them, the whole thing's already done. Whole thing's on a streaming service. You could sit down for a weekend and bang out the whole thing. Or the
Mm.
second one is currently going, and like it's like weekly installments that are coming out. And say the weekly installments one is like a little bit more popular. Like, it's like a lot of people are watching it. So there's a lot of engagement online. Which do you think is a better viewing experience?
For me, I'm gonna have to go with the week by week. Cause for me, and I mean, you and I are huge nerds, so we've been keeping up. Like Wednesday since March has been great. I don't know if anybody's been keeping up with the TV show Trio since March, but it's been amazing. And it's sadly coming
Referring
to an end.
referring to Invincible, Daredevil,
Invincible,
and The
Daredevil,
Boys.
The Boys, yeah. But yeah, dude, it's like every week, discourse on Twitter. It's like a giant community, and like everybody has their conspiracy theories. I feel it, and like, don't get me wrong, I love sitting down and watching a new show when it's all there, especially like the older ones. Like Sopranos, Breaking Bad. Like when I watched those for the first time, that was great to watch through when they were all done. But when it comes to like newer stuff, I think the week to week experience is just so much better. Because I know a lot of people don't like the whole like waiting another week to see what's gonna happen, but like I feel like now with with the generation that we're in with social media and just like everybody can talk about it now, and it's easier to like keep engaged with it now. That it makes it a little better.
Yeah, because like while I was literally dying in my bed for like 4 days, needed a new show, and I started Supernatural as I was talking to you about. But that's where it sparked the debate for me, because when you compare it to The Boys, Invincible, Daredevil, how they've been, there's you get annoyed because you're like, I want to watch the next episode, but I think that's like it's good and bad. It makes the episode better, the build up, the anticipation for it, and like with the when it's I guess more popular, you can kind of get yeah, I love talking about this stuff to people, and nobody watches Supernatural. But
Hmm.
the other side of it is like Supernatural's been great. Like I've really enjoyed it, but like something happens to the main character, and I'm like, well, there's 13 more seasons. Like he's gonna figure it out, and
Yeah, I guess like that's the main difference. Where it's like when you're watching a weekly installment show or something that's out now, you like genuinely don't know.
I think you could
So
to bring it back to sports. I think you could almost compare it entertainment value wise of like an NFL season compared to a baseball season, right? Like baseball, you got 162
yeah,
games, so like it's like
yeah, that's true.
you got it every day. Like you could almost binge a baseball season, right? Whereas the NFL, you got to wait all week to see your team lose to the
Yep.
Panthers,
Right.
which actually did happen
Right.
this year. But what are we talking
Yes.
about in episode 31? Also, before I actually get to that point, I do think we're
Well,
in the
hold on,
minority.
really quick. Well, wait, hold on. Now, you missed episode 30 last week, sadly, because you were sick. And I asked Brooklyn what his favorite moment was within the last 30 weeks. So, really quickly, what was yours?
Oh,
Like, in the
oh
last
yeah.
30 episodes,
What did
if
you
you had to
say?
pick like one, I said mine was the Broncos Raiders total
I
with the field goal.
I think
Because I, I was, us three were talking in that during that game, and as a joke, I was like, "Oh, they just need to go for a field goal here." And then I look up and I see Daniel Carlson on the field. I go, "Wait, what? Wait, they're doing it?" And I actually had the under in that game, so that's why it was awesome. I
Awesome
forget
for
what
you
Brooklyn's
because
was.
Brooklyn and I both
Yeah,
had Denver spread in that game. And we
I
talked about that
know.
on the I forget what episode that was,
Yes,
but I know Brooklyn mentioned
I,
my Chiefs picks, which that what a
yes, that was
I
it.
caught a stray not being here, a little disrespect. But hands down, my best moment from the podcast was my beef with the Titans early in the year with that Titans Cardinals
Mm.
game. DeMarcado drops the ball before he goes. He runs into the end zone, and then Cam Ward throws a pick, and it leads to a touchdown for the Titans.
Mm.
Tyler Lockett touchdown, by the way.
Oh yes, that's right. Which
So
is funny now because looking back on it, I don't think you would guess that you're this high on the Titans now.
yeah,
Heading into next year,
if
right?
if you started binging this podcast and you got into episode like 12, you'd think I'm the number one Titans hater. And
Okay.
I'm starting to, this off. I think they've really done well this off season. So I've
Yep.
got expectations. But
Yep.
football season's still in the off season. But something we're going to be doing once a month leading up to the start of the NFL season is we are going to be doing a mock draft. I know everyone's, it's that time of year now. Nick and I know I'm in 4 dynasty leagues, one of them going into year 8. I've been doing fantasy football since I was in, beginning of high school. And it is by far one of my favorite things out of the year. Like, as you know, Nick, but one of my friends, I could talk to him at any point during the year, and it will always lead to us talking about fantasy football. So,
Yeah, I think I'm at that point with you now though. Like just from how last season ended, and now we're already in May.
yeah,
We have talked about our dynasty league like literally once every
weekly.
2 weeks.
Weekly.
Yeah,
I'm talking about these teams weekly. It's nuts. But
I
so
ch- I open sleeper once a week. Like it's
I might be doing it more, to be honest. It's crazy. So we're gonna end the episode with a mock draft, but before we jump into that, let's recap the first round. Get our final thoughts. What I know the second round of playoffs. We've already seen most of the game ones, but we want to talk about a couple of these matchups from the opening series, and mainly we're gonna be talking about the Pistons over the Magic, Celtics blowing a 3-1 lead, the Timberwolves upset, which I wish I was here, or I wish Brooklyn was here for this, because Brooklyn was very high on the Timberwolves, and
he was.
he has them going to the
Yep.
Western Conference Finals. And then obviously
Hey, and they look good against San Antonio too.
we got to talk about Lakers Rockets as well. But let's start with the 1 seed here, Pistons over the Magic. This series summed up what I think the Magic roster is. Like, like this is a team, I know they had their health issues this year, but this is a team that on paper had very high expectations. And yeah, you take a 3-1 series lead in, as an 8 seed, which has not been done in a while, and everybody kind of thought Detroit was ready to pack their bags, and they went 3
Yep.
unanswered. In the first
Yep.
round of this playoffs as well, we saw 3 game 7s, we saw three series go to game 6. So it was a very entertaining first round to add to that, but for the Magic, you just couldn't close it out, and I think that really sums up that this roster is like close but not there. Detroit 98 points per game allowed. That's number 1 out of all playoff teams. And when we were first talking about the series, there's a lot of shit on the supporting cast, but they started to show out in when they needed it most. So, do I have faith in this Pistons team to really beat Cleveland? I know they took game 1, but I still don't. I don't think they do. But for them to come back against the Magic, like at first, you look at a 1 seed that is down 3-1, and you're like, oh well, how far can they go? But to win 3 unanswered, you got momentum going into the second round, and you've already taken the first game. So I don't think they win it all, or I don't think they beat Cleveland, but I don't think it's unrealistic at all to say that they do.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with you there, and I feel like especially in that game 7, it was kind of like a reality check for this Pistons team. I mean, if you look at the box score, Jalen Duren, who we mentioned was kind of a dud in the first round, had 15 and 15. Tobias Harris, man, literally MVP of that game 7, obviously aside from Cade, 30 points, 5 for 7 from 3, 9 boards, almost had a double-double, 3 steals too. Um, yeah, literally the next day, the Magic fired Jamal Mosley. Clearly, the front office believes in this roster. They don't think it's a roster problem. They think it's a coaching issue. So we'll see what happens in the offseason. But yeah, I mean, aside from Paulo, who really took a step up in this postseason from some may say a lackluster regular season or a disappointing regular season, he averaged 26, 5 and or 26, 6 and 5 in the postseason. But aside from that, his supporting cast really wasn't there. Desmond Bain was pretty solid, but when you have a guy like Jalen Suggs who's shooting 24% from the floor and he's playing 30 minutes a night, it's not like he's not taking shots. I mean, game 6, he went 111 from 3. I mean, you can't really have that. It gets to a certain point where you just got to dish it out to your other guys on the floor. But we have to keep in mind, like, this is an 8 seed. And it just seemed like this Magic team got really comfortable and they didn't look great on the road. I mean, in game 7, they scored 15 points in the third quarter. Um, so a lot of questions for this Magic team heading into your offseason, especially when you traded a lot of your future assets away for Desmond Bain. You're going to have to solely rely on free agents, or in the trade market, make some cap room. But they still have some solid rookies. Anthony Black, he was pretty solid. I mean, Paolo's only going to get better. They still have that chemistry going with him and Desmond Bain. So I don't think they're in a terrible spot. But yeah, firing your coach the day after you blow a 3-1 lead is not a good look.
I think this Magic team, the problem that faced them all year is just they really don't have, outside of Bane, like really trusted shooters. Like they're not a high volume 3-point shooting team, which in the current NBA that just isn't gonna fly. So
Right.
you look at like Jalen Suggs that you were talking about, 29% from the floor, 24% from three, and like I like
That's not
Jalen
good, man.
Suggs. I think when you talk about the draft capital that the Magic already gave up for Desmond Bain and the contracts they already have on roster, somebody's gonna have to be moved, and I think it would be Suggs in this way. Probably gonna take, I think Suggs is a great player, but I think you do take a little bit of a downgrade and you get a guard that has a little bit more of a trusted 3-point shot to put next to Paulo, or you really blow it up. Maybe you take offers on Paulo. Maybe this is a team that tries to make a bid at Giannis. I think they have the assets to do it. Maybe not with draft capital, but they've got the players to do so.
I don't think they. I don't think they'd take offers for Paulo. The dude's 23, and they just gave him a ton of money. Like, this is the guy that they're gonna try to build their franchise around. I don't think you move him, and obviously you're not gonna move Bane. So I think it's a matter of moving Franz, maybe Suggs,
I
but
think I think I think it would be Suggs because again you got Anthony
probably
Black.
Suggs.
Black can be your point guard for the future.
Yeah,
But yeah,
but
I mean Magic, they put up a fight. Orlando, I feel like you came up a little bit short, but this is still a team that you go into next year, you hold your head high. A lot of things went wrong for him this year, but let's move forward. Let's get this one out of the way.
yeah. Come on, man.
This one was upsetting. Talking about blowing another 3-1 lead, let's go talk about the Celtics versus the 76ers. The 2 seed losing to a 7 seed in the first round. And what were your
Up
biggest
3-1.
your biggest problems for the Celtics? You saw some games where they just really the 3-point shot was not landing. You saw some good performances from Philly, exceeding expectations. I mean, Edgecombe had a 30-point game in game 2. Paul George averaged 18 and looked a little bit more like the Paul George of the past. And you saw Embiid even playing through an injury through a lot of these games.
Dude, he was when he was playing, he was cooking. It was ugly.
And
We just did not have an answer.
you look at game 7 for the Celtics, they were down so much, they bring it back to a 1-point game. And when it was 99-98 with, I think, 3 minutes left, they proceeded to miss their next 8 shots. So you had an opportunity, you weren't able to close out. But if you're the Boston Celtics, I think it's similar like the Magic. This is a team that exceeded expectations throughout the whole season. A win total of 41.5, and you're the 2 seed. And when you look at the depth, I mean that's kind of what it came down to. I mean Jaylen Brown didn't really have too much to work with around him. Obviously Tatum couldn't play Game 7, but your third option Derek White had probably the worst playoff series ever as a Celtic. I mean 11 points per game. Shooting 32% from the field, 37 from 3. He took 12 shots a game and he averaged 11 points. So he was not great on the offensive side of the ball. So
It was ugly.
you already know the narrative going into the offseason for the Celtics is going to, I thought after they won the championship, you weren't going to hear we need to break up the Jays. Jaylen Brown has to go. And I think that argument's going to come back up just because Giannis is on the board, and maybe this is I try to avoid bias when I talk about the Celtics, when I talk about my teams, but I really don't want Jaylen Brown to be traded for Giannis. I look at the Jays and I think it'd be such when you look at the history of the Celtics, the legends of the Celtics, some of them have ugly exits. Like the Brooklyn trade that created this Celtics team now. You had to let go of your legends for that reason, but Brown and Tatum, I would love to see them both just retire in a
Don't
Celtics
don't
uniform.
don't forget about the Isaiah Thomas trade.
That as well. Granted, a little bit of a shorter peak there, but traded a guy off of
Still,
right off of his best
this was
year.
10 years ago, and people still talk about it.
But the whole narrative this offseason is going to be, the Celtics should trade for Giannis. I disagree with it. I think there's a world where they could be better with Giannis, but I don't want to see that. I don't want to see them have to trade extra. It's probably going to be a package of like Brown, Shireman, and maybe a couple picks. But I don't think that necessarily should be your model. Again, like this team, you didn't really have much of like much depth around Brown and Tatum this year, and you went as far as you did. So I think this is a run it back. You retool the bench. You probably do have to make some moves with like Sam Hauser's contract. You have some interesting free agents with like Keita, Garza. So and obviously Vucevic. I mean, you're not bringing Vucevic back. A healthy scratch in Game 7, and somebody that I think averaged 5 points in this series. So
Yep.
I think you could call this series bad shooting for the Celtics and really just falling apart in the latter half of the series, and the exact opposite for Philly. Everything was clicking for them. I mean, Maxey and Embiid combined for 50 points per game in this series. So, does Philly go farther? Do they beat the Knicks? Hell the fuck they don't. I don't think there's a world where they do. Um, but for them to beat the Celtics, it's not nothing.
No, it's definitely not nothing, and, we're gonna hear about it till next October, sadly. I think this was kind of a reality check for this team. I mean, it was kind of the Cinderella story for the Celtics team. I'm not gonna lie, like, it was great. We were looking good. Tatum's back, and I don't blame I don't blame the team for not playing Tatum with the calf injury game 7. Like, this guy just came back after like a year-long injury. He aggravated his leg again. Like game 7, like you ran the whole year without him already and you were doing well. So I get it. Like you don't want to rush him back cuz then if you do advance, like you have him healthy for round 2. If he plays, maybe it would have been a little bit different. However, just with the whole Giannis thing, I don't like it either, but all I'm saying is maybe if they had a guy like Giannis on the court, they probably they wouldn't need to address their 5 help as much as they do now because they have a little more flexibility with that. And then also at that same time, JB's gone. Maybe you give the keys to Pritchard a little bit more. I mean, this is still a guy that's been coming off the bench and he's kind of proven himself that he can lead this offense. Um, so I could see that happening. And then yeah, all right, Giannis is getting locked up in the paint. You still have Jason Tatum. So I could see that there's obviously positives if that happens, but I see more realistic is that they address the center help because it's needed, and Embiid was cooking this team. It was ugly.
Well,
And
what would you think is a better lineup? Like if you like truly, do you think it's a lineup of Pritchard, White, or sorry, let's go White, Brown, Tatum, Shireman, and then whatever center you're gonna get cheap, whether it's re-signing Keita or picking somebody else up off the market, or do you go the other route of Pritchard, White, Tatum, Giannis, and then same thing, you fill out the center.
I think that second lineup is better.
So you would trade for Giannis?
I would
Yeah, I
if
mean, I
if the offer was there. Yeah, dude. And I mean, like, if we're being realistic here, Brown's value is probably the highest it's gonna be
a
right
thousand
now.
percent, 1,000%.
Like, gonna be 30. Like, he's in his prime, like Finals MVP 2 years ago, was in MVP conversations better half of the year. So yeah, I mean, if there is a year that he's gonna get moved, and you know there is benefits to doing it for the team. Furthermore, I can see it happening. I w- I s- I I would hope that it's not like in the past where they just do it. I would hope that it's like, the front office kind of communicates with them, like, hey, this is like what we're gonna do. But also at the same time, I don't know, because it's a big deal. It's a big move if you do that. But I think if Giannis is on the table and he's willing to want to come here, I don't know.
I think it does. On paper, I think it pushes the Celtics team immediately into favorites in the East again when all healthy. But to that same point, you've already won a chip with Brown and Tatum. You know what works. White's still under contract. I think you could retool this bench around and still be able to manage without having to give up later assets for it. But yeah. So I'm not a fan of Giannis, but it seems like you're growing. It's growing on you a little bit.
The more that we talk about it, because it's one of those things where it's like on paper everything's perfect, right? Like look at the Brooklyn Big Three, for example. Like when that trade happened, everybody thought they were immediately gonna win, and they
Well, they
played
were
not
all
even 20
old.
games together.
Giannis
Yeah, I
Giannis
know.
isn't 37.
No, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like I don't know if it's there, and the value's there, and if it's able to happen. I don't see.
What would you
I
do?
mean, it's
Well,
yacht.
you're Brad
I don't see
Stevens.
why they wouldn't do it. I
Milwaukee
don't see
calls
if
you and they say Jaylen Brown, Baylor Shireman, and 2 first-round picks for Giannis. We could do it right now.
I think he does that.
Do you? Yes or no? You've been everything you've said should means that this is a yes answer.
Biasy out the door, yes. Biasy there, no.
All right, that's all I needed to hear.
If I'm like a regular NBA fan looking at it, and as an example, it's a no brainer, obviously. But like as a Celtics fan, like I'm hesitant to that, obviously.
Yeah, no,
But
I'm fair with you there, but I don't want to
if it
see it.
makes the
But
team better, then
yeah, you can't complain
whatever.
there. But
Yeah.
moving forward into the West, let's go. Timberwolves taking out the Nuggets in 6. This Nuggets roster, you want to talk about underperforming all across the board? I think this is where it is. Jamal Murray, 23.7 points per game in the series on 21.5 shots a night.
Ugh.
That's insane usage. Denver as a team, 31% from 3 this series. I know Jokic was sub 20% from 3. Aaron Gordon had the 5th worst defensive rating out of all playoff contenders. Well, I would say 3rd because Garrett Temple technically was on that list after playing a whole like 5 minutes in the series. So yeah, you could say he was the 3rd worst
Team is
defender.
Garrett Temple on.
The Hawks.
Oh, okay. So that's garbage minutes. Yeah,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah. So Aaron Gordon, one of the worst defenders this playoff series. Jamal Murray, incredibly inefficient. Everybody around around Jokic just really wasn't there. And Jokic himself, I mean, he didn't necessarily exceed the way that I thought he was. And the Timberwolves, meanwhile, this was just like a team of friendship. I think everybody got to eat a little bit. Ayo Dosunmu, leading scorer on this team. Shout out Brooklyn. We love Dosunmu this year for the betting side
Yeah,
of
dude.
things.
Betting side, and just I guess now he's like his regular season averages, and then you look at his postseason averages. Like the jump is insane, dude. Especially like from the months of like March to now, the
So
jump that he's taken.
Anthony Edwards, hyperextended knee. He's playing through it, which I think is crazy. I mean, that just shows the competitiveness of Edwards there. But I don't know if you can tell me if you think this is a hot take or not. But after seeing this series, I think it's easy to say that we might have seen the best Denver Nuggets roster with Jokic already. Like this team has hit its peak. It already did a
I
while.
don't. No, I don't think that's a hot take. What, the year they won the championship?
Yeah, they brought in Bruce Brown this offseason, after like when they had that finals run. Obviously, he was a big piece, and he's just not the player that he was when he was in Denver the first time. You traded away Michael Porter Jr. for Cam Johnson, and that trade really hasn't worked out for you well. I think you in hindsight, you definitely redo that because it was Michael Porter Jr. and a pick for Cam Johnson.
Yeah.
So this Nuggets team, they didn't perform well on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball. And for the Timberwolves, it was just all around a great play. You saw Mike Conley come up big in a couple different ways. You saw Jaden McDaniels obviously have some big performances. So I know Brooklyn's not here, but after seeing this round 1, do you think Minnesota has a chance to beat San Antonio, even with Edwards being not 100%?
Let's say at this point, I do. I do, because this is a Minnesota team that not too long ago made a deep run.
And they already won game
Um,
1.
they already won game 1. And also I wanted to say last week we did mention on the pod that game 7, Jay McDaniels, he was going to need to come up big, 32-10 in game 7. He really stepped up to the plate. I mean, this Minnesota team, it's basically the same roster. I mean, obviously with some upgrades, but like the chemistry's there. They're just like they're a dangerous 6 seed, honestly, in my opinion. Like this is one of the teams that like seeding aside, like they're dangerous, and it's kind of showed. Like they just knocked off the 3 seed, and then they just went into San Antonio, beat up after game 7, and took down the Spurs, who obviously had their one game against Portland. I mean, might be concussion issues with that, but aside from that, looks pretty dominant. So I think this is going to be an entertaining series. I think this goes also 6, maybe 7 as well, because I think it's just going to be really gritty basketball, and I don't think Anthony Edwards is going to go down without a fight.
And, mentioning Gobert a little bit here, I know not really mentioned on this podcast, but just to go back in history, when we were in college, we used to have like we did have a strictly basketball podcast that we did for a little bit. And Nick used to get very adamant about his hatred for Rudy Gobert. And Gobert has
Because
one of the best defensive ratings so far this playoff series.
I have to say, and in game 1, I mean they did win by 2, but 10 boards. I mean, this is the best matchup that you could have for Wemby. I'm not gonna lie there, but I to clarify that I hated the trade for Rudy Gobert. I think the trade. I think the Rudy Gobert trade is like one of the most awful things ever done.
Because
Like from
it broke the market on like
it
how
just like
valuable
it
is a
just
first round pick.
yes, like it just ruined everything. And like in hindsight, like like what have the Timberwolves done? Like yeah, they have a conference finals appearance, but like otherwise, nothing. So it's like that's why I hate Rudy Gobert, because it's like this guy is not worth 5 first round picks. I get it, 2 defensive player of the years, but we see guys go for like who are better that go for less. So that's all. That's my rant.
Yeah.
But aside from that, but no, I give credit where credit's due. I mean, he looked really good in that first round. So I mean, if he keeps it up defensively, then yeah, I mean, San Antonio is gonna have to rely on their young core, which I mean looked pretty dominant in the first round. But now, I mean, now as you're playing a team that's a little more veteran, especially in the postseason, and you have a team that has chemistry and like knows how to score and get past these, especially also low key shout out Julius Randle too. He's also kind of been balling. He had 21 and 10 against the Spurs the other night in game 7. I mean, 18 5 and 4. I mean, the shooting hasn't really been there, but the playmaking's still there. He's been pretty solid too for Minnesota.
Yeah,
So,
and to wrap it up on the Denver side again, Jamal Murray underperforms, Aaron Gordon underperforms, Jokic slightly underperforms, and you can't get past this Timberwolves team as a 3 seed. I do think it's true that we have seen the best Denver team with Jokic there, and if I'm the GM, I really don't know how much you can improve this roster with the current apron cap hold, all that situation there. But last round we want to talk about today is going to be the Lakers Rockets. LeBron just like the game 7 was so important for the LeBron narrative just because blowing a 3-0 lead would just be insane. But to the flip side of it, them winning the series was insane on its own. You saw a Marcus Smart 27-point game. You saw a Luke Kennard 30-point game. And obviously you saw first option LeBron at the age of 41 dismantling a Rockets team. I don't really have too much to really talk about on the Rockets. I think I've said it all year that it's just like a team that doesn't have a true point guard. Like I know
this was a team that we were very high on before this series started, though. Let's not forget that.
The
Like we
Rockets,
praised, yeah.
we weren't not at the end of the regular season. At the last like 3 weeks of the
Heading
regular
into
season,
this,
the Rockets were
heading
struggling.
into the postseason, we had the Rockets beating the Lakers though in the
But
first round.
in the episode, I said, or I was that was the episode that I missed. But you and I had the same thought process that if the Lakers are fully healthy, they take this series. If Luka and Reeves are there at the beginning, but they weren't.
Yeah, that's true.
So with them not there, yeah, I thought the Rockets should be able to take care of 41-year-old LeBron and Rui Hachimura, Luke Kennard, and Marcus Smart. And They pushed it to 7 after taking, being down 3-0, but at the same time, this is not a good supporting cast for LeBron. If this is 2018 LeBron, this is another story, but this is 41-year-old LeBron. So
Yeah.
he got some good performances out of those role players, but overall, I think this Rockets team should have taken care of business, and they didn't. Fred VanVleet, I think, would have made a little bit more of an impact. I know I've mentioned him a little bit because, again, they don't have the three-point shooting depth, and they don't really have an experienced point guard. Like, Thompson is nice, don't get me wrong, but he doesn't really do much to, spread the floor, and he's still got to develop. So this Rockets team, they're in disarray. Sengun is getting a lot of hate, and you're already seeing all the Kevin Durant trade proposals already being thrown out there every year. It's like Kevin Durant loses in the playoffs, and it's where does he go next? But I don't know if this is a hot take, I don't know if this is a hot take, but if LeBron and the Lakers were able to beat the Thunder, which they are currently plus 1,300 to win the series, it's the third highest, I think, underdog LeBron's ever had, and he's been 0-2 in the previous series. But at 41 years old, beating the previous champions without a Luka Doncic, with a slightly still coming back from injury Austin Reeves. If he won this playoff series, this would be the most impactful playoff series that LeBron has won in his career. At the age of 41, beating the best team in the league, it would be nuts.
I agree. I think that's insane because like if you look back at his career, like all like obviously like 2018, like went into Toronto, beat the 1 seed, like had really no help. But obviously, like 2018, LeBron's a different animal. Didn't win a ring there. But we talk about that like all the time. I mean, 2016 when they beat the Warriors, that was the greatest team of all time. Came back 3-1. I mean, that I feel like cement is like LeBron's like some like is LeBron's legacy. Like went down 3-1 against the greatest regular season of all time and came back and won a ring for a franchise that hasn't won it ever. So I feel like if he does this though, 41 years old, beats a team that at the beginning of the year was, you know, stats wise was gonna be the greatest regular season of all time at one point. Um, yeah, I think this would do it, and then I think he rides off into the sunset
I will say,
if he does that.
at Celtics are out of the playoffs, I am fully rooting for a LeBron ring. There's nothing like
Oh, I
this.
am.
This would be insane for his. Granted,
I am.
does he
I
need
am as
more
well.
for his narrative? Not really. But would this be the ultimate cherry on top, winning a chip at the age of 41 and going through a first round where again Luka and Reeves are not there? You then have to beat the Thunder in the second round. That itself is just an insane feat.
I agree. I think that would. Uh, uh I hope.
But yeah,
My king.
shout out Luke Kennard, shout out Marcus Smart. Two very good players. There are two that definitely
Shout
exceeded
out
in the
Rui.
first round. Shout out Rui as well. Smart, I know he throughout the playoffs this year currently has the second best defensive rating. So he's been playing some really good defense there. And yeah, if Luka comes back, if Luka's ready for round 3, you get through the Thunder and you got Luka for the conference chip, then you could say like maybe
That looks a little interesting.
maybe the Lakers are front runners to take it all. Who knows? But
Maybe.
a series we're not going to touch on really is Cleveland Toronto. I know that one won 7. Very interesting one too. I mean, RJ Barrett's shot that you got Kawhi PTSD on the how it jumps straight up there. You saw Thunder just take care of business with Phoenix. Wasn't really too much there. San Antonio versus Portland. Once Wemby was healthy, they kind of took care of business. And I thought the Hawks were going to be better than they were. They showed fight. And then they got shit on in game 6.
Dude, that was so bad.
They were down like 50 at
Me and Brooklyn were
halftime.
recording. We were recording during that game, and we were like, "Wow, the score is 100-30."
Unbelievable. But looking into the second round, I think the Knicks are going to take care of Philly pretty easily. I think San Antonio still takes the series against Minnesota, especially with Edwards being a little injured. I'd love to see the Lakers beat the Thunder, but if you're realistic, it's definitely the Thunder taking the series. And
Yeah.
Cleveland, Detroit, I think Cleveland's experience and I think their front court definitely could sway the series, even still being down 1.
Yeah, That's what I have that in my notes for the second round. I think the Cavs take this to the. I think it's gonna be a close series, but I think the Cavs take it over the Pistons. I got the Knicks over Philly as well. I would love a Timberwolves upset over San Antonio just from the Anthony Edwards injury narrative. I'm a big Ant guy, but realistically, I do see the Spurs taking this one. I think it's going to be closer than people think, though. I think this one, like I said, I think this one goes 6 or 7 games. And then same with you. Would really hope the Lakers advance just for the king, but I don't see that happening. I think the Thunder take this in 5.
But boy, oh boy, would that be sick if they did.
Right.
But let's switch it over to the mock draft. So
Back.
So we're gonna do the first 10 rounds here. Again, this is something we're gonna do every month because they're gonna we're gonna hear different news. Obviously, training camp's gonna hit. There's probably gonna be a couple injuries that are gonna impact this as well. And we're gonna be flipping draft slots depending on what it is. Nick asked Siri, and Siri blessed him with the 10th overall pick. So I didn't want to be too close. I decided to pick number 4 because I think that's a little bit interesting. I think as it currently stands, based off of ADP, your top 5 would go 5 running backs in a row: Bijan, Gibbs, JT, McCaffrey, Cook, which in history kind of shows the opposite. That usually a receiver does hold weight there. But if you're ready to go, I will press start on this mock draft.
Yep, I'm recorded, ready to go.
All right, so let me actually also make sure. Let me turn this music off, and then boom. So, draft top 3 picks. Go 3 running backs in a row. Bijan 1, Jonathan Taylor 2, Jahmyr Gibbs at 3. I'm here at 4. You have McCaffrey, again, a little bit older, but, obviously Kittle's going to probably miss the beginning of the year. Mike Evans a little bit older as well, so you think there's going to be more opportunity there. But do you love taking McCaffrey at 4 with the injury history and him being a little bit older? James Cook at 5, off a new contract, and we're looking at a guy that last year was like the running back, like
2, 3
why,
for a little bit.
Why is Sleeper not showing me this? Oh no, sorry, he was the RB5. And currently being taken at the RB4. But I'm not taking a running back here. At number 4, I'm taking the guy that's just been my bread and butter. I have him in a couple dynasty leagues, but even in redrafts, I love him at this spot. I'm taking Jamar Chase. We see then
pick there.
Board going into Nick. It goes Ken Walker at 5. I don't know if I'm taking him in the first round this year. James Cook,
that's insane.
Christian McCaffrey, Puka, Devon Achane, and now Nick is sitting here at pick number 10. Talk us through it.
For me, sitting at a 10 spot, I did this last year. I usually at this point double up on a position, and I usually go by what's available on the board. It's a lot of running backs, and I feel like especially if you're doing like redraft leagues, running back is a position that's much needed because it's very slim. I feel like you can kind of pick up receivers as they go, but running backs is kind of hard to come by. So for me here, I'm going to go with Ashton Genty at 110. And then following that up, we're going to double up at running back.
You're not going to take JSN?
Here. You see, JSN, I do like that, but also at the same time, like in my history, I've always had issues with the RB2 spot. So if I can at least have a position where I'm set at the beginning of my draft, I can kind of fill it out as it goes. That's just me.
I see. If I was in this spot, I'm taking JSN, no question. I mean, wide receiver 2 last year, and
I guess for the sake of what everybody else is gonna do, I'll take JSN at this spot.
Well, no.
But
if you're the GM guy, this is your team. But you got a minute.
If
now.
I had my second pick here, I would go with Saquon for my RB2, RB1, RB2.
Then
JSN goes immediately after.
Jeremiah Love looks like he's going to be not usually there's a rookie running back that jumps into the first round, but in this one he falls into the middle of the second. Me sitting now at the middle of this or towards the end of the second round here, I see Amon-Ra, Chase Brown, Justin Jefferson, Drake London, Trey McBride. If you want to go early on a tight end here, but I'm gonna go receiver. This might be a draft where I punt running back into maybe the third or even farther. But yeah, I'm gonna go with Amon-Ra. I mean, again, the wide receiver 3 last year. Um, let me see if it'll see on the app. It'll actually break down year to year basis on where he ranked. But a guy that's just been heavily, just super consistent, and not too much has been added in that receiver room around him. So yeah, Amon-Ra here in the second round, Jefferson right behind him, Chase Brown, Drake London, Bucky Irving, Trey McBride in the third, Derrick Henry right behind him. Malik Neighbors is staring at me, but he is not going to be ready to go at the beginning of the year. Now this is definitely a running back spot, I think, for me, looking at the board, because you see Nico Collins, you see George Pickens, but Kyron Williams here, he's not the strongest RB1 in the world, but I'm going to take him. I hope Corum isn't going to take too many of the carries this year. I think going into next year, that might be a little bit of a worrisome pick, but you can't deny taking the RB1 on one of the best teams in the league.
Nope, you're not wrong there. So here at this spot, we're gonna go with receiver. Obviously, at the receiver spot, you have Nico Collins, who's the best available player. You have AJ Brown. I would avoid AJ Brown kind of at this spot, only just because of everything that's up in the air with him. Like, obviously, he's on Philly right now, but that could change as the season goes on. So, as we're doing this now, it's probably gonna get changed. But just for right now, I'm gonna avoid him. You have Rashee Rice again. His value might decrease just because of that quarterback whole situation there in Kansas City, but then you have T. Higgins. I'm going to take Nico Collins here. Obviously Houston has their struggles, but clearly the wide receiver 1 on that offense, and he does have his breakout games. Now, this is an interesting spot here. Last pick, obviously, when you look at the QBs here, right, you have Lamar, Drake May, Burrow. All of these guys are probably going to start going.
Josh Allen is on the board.
I would take Josh Allen at 4-1 here. Just because next time you get up at 5-10, your next available QB, and obviously there's still some pretty solid options here. Herbert, Dart, T-Law, Dak for redrafts. But, obviously if you're going to want to fill holes, but you want a QB that's going to get you a solid 20-25 per week, probably Josh Allen.
Well, if you're going to talk about maybe the safest player in fantasy football, Josh Allen, since his rankings in PPR since 2020, QB1, QB1, QB2, QB1, QB2, QB1. So hard to find something it's just he's an easy pick, easy floor.
If he's in your top 3 at the end of that round, I feel like, and you're not going up again till 5-10. Yeah. I feel like you kind of have to take him in that spot because, obviously, there's a lot of good quarterbacks to back up with, and you can fill other spots that you need. You could have filled receiver there, but I feel like any other point at 4-1, it would have been a reach.
Yeah, and right after you, it goes Rashee Rice, T. Higgins, Brock Bowers, Javonte Williams, Ted McMillan. Rashee Rice is somebody I really love. I think he's somebody that, he's just a good target guy. I hate what I'm looking at the board right now. Best available, A.J. Brown, Travion Henderson, Garrett Wilson, Luther Burden. Just seeing all of that doesn't really excite me. So, I'm gonna take a QB just with you here. Again, Scatabo, I don't really love as an RB2 right now. Jalen Waddle in Denver, I don't know. Again, he could be really great. He's gonna be the wide receiver 1 out there, but Bo Nix, we know my history with him. So yeah, I'm gonna take Lamar. I'm gonna go with you here on quarterback. Yep. And then AJ Brown, Waddle, Garrett Wilson, Burden, Harvey, Devontae. Now looking at the beginning of now in the 5th round here.
It's all running backs.
Yeah, board didn't get too much better for me. Bashal Tootin is somebody I think is interesting, but I think there's reports that Chris Rodriguez is still going to be a decent person in that backfield. So again, if this is Dynasty, I'm looking at this a completely different way. I think I'm just going to take, as crazy as it is, I wouldn't say crazy, but he's fallen a little bit in this board. I'm going to take Travion Henderson. Stevenson obviously was the bell cow at the end of the year, but you took Henderson high, and he did show flashes last year. And there's it's going to be his backfield next year, but he could definitely earn it this year.
So now we're sitting at 5-10. Obviously, the running back room, if I didn't double up at running back, Montgomery, Jalen Warren, Stevenson, Monangai. So, again, like it kind of like it depends on what you want to go there. But I feel like if I didn't double up at running back at 110 and 2-1, I would have been screwed at this point. But there's now a lot of room. We have a QB. We still need another receiver. The options here: receiver, say Flowers, Jameson Williams. I like Devontae Smith. Gonna get a lot of upside in this receiving room if AJ Brown is gone. But they just drafted a receiver in the first round. Mecca Ibuka first 5 weeks of the regular season last year had a touchdown, kind of had a fall off, but I do see him having a good year this year as well. So I'm actually gonna go with Egbuka
I
here.
was that fuck.
I don't think that's really a big reach, just because I think he has a lot of upside. And my pick would have been Lad, but he just got taken. So we're gonna go Egbuka here. And then immediately after that, I think another player that's going to have a great upside, also really showed that he's going to be a huge part of this offense this year. Going to take a tight end. We're going with Colston Loveland here.
Tight end 3 off the board. I mean, yeah, he ended the year so electric. I love the Igbuka
He
pick.
did.
Um,
Yes.
and Devonta Smith goes right before me. That would have been the guy I would have loved there. So now looking at it, I see Terry McLaurin, somebody I've never really loved in fantasy. You see DJ Moore in Buffalo. I'm not buying into that hype yet. Mike Evans in San Francisco. But the name that sticks out to me here is I think this is going to be the first rookie receiver taken off the board. I'm going to take
Yep.
Carnell Tate here to be my this would be my flex option. Going to take
It's a
him
good pick.
round 6, pick 7. That's got to be good luck. Behind him, crazy in the 7th round, it has Stevenson and Kyle Monungai going back to back. I mean, that's ugly. You definitely need to address the running back room in some way. I mean, again, my RB2 is not the prettiest. Does Tony Pollard make that much better? I don't know. But what I am going to do here, Tyler Warren's looking at me nice. Harold Fannon's sitting here too. I usually am somebody that punts the tight end position. Like, if I don't get one of the top 3 guys, then I'm not really going to reach for it. But 2 names that I'm kind of torn on here. 2 running backs formerly in the same backfield. Chuba Hubbard, Rico Dowdle. Dowdle in Pittsburgh now, but Jalen Warren is still there. Meanwhile, Hubbard, I don't really think there's that much fight for opportunity over there. Jonathan Brooks is, he was drafted 2 years ago in the 2nd round, and he's finally going to be the backup. But how good is he going to be after sitting out for 2 years with those insane injuries? So yeah, I'll take Chuba Hubbard to be my running back off the bench.
And Blake Corum actually went before Dowdle or Tony Pollard. So there's already a guy that I see here that I'm going to take. We're going to take 2 Bears players. Actually, never mind. I take that back because I see somebody that I like a little bit better. Maybe a little bit of a reach here. I'm going to go with Jordan Tyson at 7'10". And then to also help with the running back room, I'll take the guy that you didn't want. I'll go with Rico Dowdle.
Yeah, I wouldn't call Tyson a reach. I mean, rookies, they always have if there's any value in a draft, it's usually going to be the rookies, just because in some ways they always, it's hard to project really where they're going to be.
For me, if we'll see what you do here.
Well, see, this one's going to be funny. I see Kyle Pitts. That name always is great. But I'm torn between 2 receivers here, and I think I know which one I'm gonna decide on, and that's Rome Odunze or Michael Wilson. I mean, Michael Wilson, not a name that you would have thought of at the beginning of the year, but you're talking about at the end of the season. Like, let me go from week 12 to 18. You're seeing 12, 11, 14, 13, 14, 13, 15. He was putting up numbers. Or excuse me. Yeah, no, he was putting up numbers. So but I'm gonna take Rome. DJ Moore's out of the building. Caleb another year older. Again, I think this Bears team is gonna be good. So I'm just all about the skill positions. We don't care about this tight end.
Rome was the guy that I was looking at.
And
I was gonna take.
Now sitting here, this is a name. This could burn me. This could definitely burn me. But again, I'm just gonna take the value here. And a former 1st-round pick that was a little disappointing last year, but the receiver room hasn't been upgraded too much in Jacksonville. So yeah, I'm gonna take Brian Thomas Jr. I think in the 9th round. That's pretty good. I mean, I love my receivers right now. This team has Jamar Chase, Amon Ra, Carnell Tate, Rome Odunze, Brian Thomas. I love those names. And Marv Harrison goes right before you in round 9. This is also
So
our
we're only doing 10 picks here. Um, so last two picks need to make it count. So I feel like I'm pretty good right now, running back wise. I still have my solid two. Receiver, I could love somebody else. I'm kind of looking at Alec Pierce here, just because I know the Colts just gave him a bag, so they have a lot. They have a lot of faith in this guy. He looked pretty good towards the end of the season. And then I'm also looking at Ricky Pearsall. But then again, Niners just signed Mike Evans. He dealt with a lot of injuries last year. I think for the safety value, I'm gonna go with Alec Pierce here. And then to finish off our draft here, I think we'll take one more running back. Looking at the best available, we have Aaron Jones, who's someone that I would try to avoid in this round, just, age-wise, injuries, and, they still have Jordan Mason there. Kenneth Gainwell, interesting. I mean, he was basically a receiver in Pittsburgh, now in Tampa. But keep in mind, like, Tampa's, like, the team with the running backs. They have Bucky Irving. They have Rashad White. They still have all
Rashad
the... Oh,
White is
Rashad White's
in
gone. They're
Washington.
gone. But, same thing, their play style. Their play style, they like to, rotate all the running backs, even if they have an RB1. So then you have Tyler Algier, who was going to be the RB1. And then the Cardinals drafted Jeremiah Love. And then James Conner, who, like, realistically is probably not going to find reps on this team. So, just for the sake, just for it, I'm going to go with Kent Gainwell, just because, I mean, he showed that he's solid as an RB2, and he can be utilized in different ways other than just in the receiving game as well. And I feel like that kind of outweighs Jones just because of the age, and then Algier just because of, snaps. A lot of insight for a 10th
I
pick.
was gonna say.
10th round pick.
Now my final pick. Uh, my tight ends on the board. I definitely do need a tight end. You see Sam Laporta here. You see Aronde Gadsden. Um, to be honest, I'm going a little bit farther off ADP. And just to take a tight end since I haven't already, but I know it's gonna if we were going a little bit farther, I'm gonna talk about who I would take next. But yeah, you're looking at Sam Laporta and you're like, wow, this dude was a tight end one not too long ago, but a guy that's very touchdown dependent and hasn't been so great as of late. So I'm gonna actually go and take he's currently ranked as the 7th tight end on the board, but I'm gonna take Jake Ferguson.
Yep, that's who I was
Yeah,
looking at.
he's just always been such a solid part of that Dallas offense. And again, we're not making pick 11 here, but it just got to me on the clock, and I saw him on the board when you were looking at running back. He's like when you took Gainwell. There's been Gainwell, Charbonnet, Aaron Jones, Algier, and Bill that all went off the board. But if we were making a pick 11, this is where I would take Jadarian Price, rookie that
Fair
got
enough.
drafted out of Seattle. But going through our mock drafts, top 10 picks in order for me, I went with the 1-4. I had Jamar Chase, Amon Ra, Kyron Williams, Lamar Jackson, Travion Henderson, Carnell Tate, Chuba Hubbard, Roma Dunze, Brian Thomas Jr., and Jake Ferguson. I think my running back room is a little questionable, but I think my receivers are fucking nice.
And then at pick 110, we drafted Genty, Saquon, Nico Collins, Josh Allen, Mecca Ibuka, Colston Loveland, Jordan Tyson, Rico Dowdle, Alec Pierce, Ken Gamewell. I love my team. I wish this was a real team.
I was gonna say, still got a lot of time. We'll be doing these at least, again, once a month going into the NFL season, and at some point we're gonna double dip. We'll do a normal one. We'll do a rookie draft as well. But yeah, I love fantasy football, and we're in that time of year now. But that's all for us for this episode 31. Socials, as always, are going to be like that _pod. And we'll be back next week, giving you, again, another weekly update on the NFL, or the NBA, sorry. Not going to do a mock draft next week, so I think next week's going to be some type of little mini game. Maybe a Jeopardy board, maybe a guess that lineup. Somebody gave me the idea. I think this would be interesting. It would be, you have to pick you get selected a random finals winner of the last 10 years. Like, say I give you the 2018, or sorry, let me make it fun. Like the 2019 Raptors, right? And you have to tell me every team that they beat going into that finals matchup.
I could right now.
Yeah,
now.
fire away.
Magic, Philly, Shit. Who did they beat in the East? I only remember the semis.
Yeah,
Damn it.
see, we gotta do our homework on that. But yeah, we'll be doing some mini game next week. But like that _pod on socials. That's all from me. We'll be seeing you guys next week.
Later.